Hello everyone, how are you guys doing today? Oh wow, that's a very good response. Why don't you turn to your neighbor and say, you look good, but I'm better looking. How's it been so far? Good? Good. Now I'd like to start my presentation with a story, that happened 2,000 years ago. There was this army and they were facing their enemy. And the enemy had a secret weapon, and his name was Goliath. He was a giant. I'm sure some of you know this story. And this army was practically terrified of this guy. And they were really shivering. And there was a boy by the name of David that came to this particular army that was facing the giant. And he said, why don't we just take him out? Because, this guy is threatening us. And then his brothers told him, are you mad? Do you see his size? He's so big. And then David said, exactly. That's why we can take him down. So he took some stones, 5 pieces of stone, and he took a sling, and he said, I'm going to go and kill him. And then the guys again reminded him, do you know how big he is? And then David said, exactly. I know I'm not going to miss. So in today's term, we will define that as a blue ocean shift. The ability to look at adversary and to create an opportunity to win the battle. So I hope that at the end of this talk, all of us will have a bit of David in us to have that blue ocean shift and to be able to create opportunity in the midst of adversary and stiff competition. So that's going to be the essence of my talk. But I'm not just going to talk about the why. I'm also going to show you the how to create your own blue oceans and how to achieve your own blue ocean shift. Now, let me have a quick show of hands. How many of you here are entrepreneurs? Entrepreneurs, okay. How many of you are future entrepreneurs? Okay. Wow, that's quite a number of you. Fantastic. So you are at the right session. I'm going to teach you all the tools and frameworks and the secret sauce to creating your own blue oceans and to create a successful, sustainable business. I've been doing this for the past 10 years in over 24 countries, helping businesses, big, small, medium, to create their own blue oceans and be successful. So that's great. So we have current entrepreneurs, future entrepreneurs, and what about the rest? You don't know why you're here? You're forced to be here? No? You're working for someone? Right? Okay, good. So, how many of you here, the entrepreneurs, all right? How many of you here are facing your own Goliath? That means you are facing a tough period of time. Stiff competition, tough economy. Quick show of hands. Honest show of hands. All right. Future entrepreneurs also facing the same. Huh? Good. So, when times are bad, essentially, you have two important decisions to make. Number one is you will have to decide whether you want to stay in the red ocean space, which is to compete in the existing market space, to exploit the existing demand, and to choose between differentiation or low cost. Meaning that you have to either be a differentiator or you drop your price, you go for volume, you be a low-cost player. And you have no new market space. But when we are talking about a blue ocean shift, you have another decision that you can make, which is to move away from the red ocean space and to move towards the blue ocean space. And here, you have the ability to create your own uncontested market space. You have the ability to create and capture new demand. And the good news is this, for sustainability, you can pursue differentiation and lower your costs at the same time. Meaning that you can have a new value proposition and you can achieve your profit proposition as well, thus making you sustainable. So you don't have to compete. The idea of blue ocean shift is to have a mindset shift that in order for me to win, somebody else has to die. Somebody else has to lose. But the idea is for you to be able to create your own market space, for you to be able to capture your own demand. And you can do that by being profitable at the same time. You don't have to just go higher and higher. So the imperative of creating blue oceans today is more important than it was yesterday. Because today, there's no level playing field in that sense. Even a big company, you can have a small company going into the ring with a big company. So essentially, today, we want to make a shift. Instead of focusing on the red ocean space, we want to make a shift to the blue ocean space. And the good news is that I'm going to show you how. I'm going to show you 3 steps on how you can create your own blue oceans. Is that good? All right, fantastic. And then if we have time, I would love to take some questions. Okay, so although the term blue ocean is new, the existence is not. In fact, companies have been creating blue oceans for decades. And companies that have moved away from competing and creating their own market space. For example, Ford Model T. They did not compete with the horse carriage. They went and created something which is basically the horseless carriage. Or Cirque du Soleil. They did not compete with the existing circus. They went on to create a new kind of theatrical circus without animals and premium pricing. And we also have Southwest Airlines. And we have Yellowtail that did not compete with the existing winery, but they came up with their own type of wine to capture the US-based market. Curves, gym only for women. And of late, Nintendo Wii, a product that is used the tools and methodologies of Blue Ocean strategy, and Nintendo came up with the Wii. And you have Square, right? New form of payment system. And today, I'm going to talk about Citizen M, a new kind of hotel, a new blue ocean hotel that's been created that are very, very successful, that have used the principles of blue ocean, the steps that I'm going to teach you today. They have used it and they are successful today. So I'm going to walk you through a case study. Now, the question here is that, is there a pattern, for all these organizations who have moved away from competing towards creating and have created that blue ocean shift? That was the exact questions that the creators of Blue Ocean Strategy, Professor W. Chan Kim and Rene Mabon, had when they first published the first Blue Ocean Strategy book in 2005. And in 2005, they had this notion or this thinking that there is no such thing as a permanently great company, nor a permanently great industry, but there is such a thing as a good strategic move. Meaning that the only reason a company was successful is because they did something right at a particular time and space. And as a result of that, they studied 150 strategic moves across 100 years in a span of 100 years across 30 industries to look for a pattern. And they came up with a series of tools that you can use that can help you create your own blue oceans. So that was in 2005. Now, recently, they actually launched last month a new book called Blue Ocean Shift, which essentially is the proven steps to inspire confidence and seize new market growth. Now, the companies that have used these tools and frameworks since 2005 for the past 12 years are all those successful companies that are now captured in this book, including Magic. Actually, Magic is part of the National Blue Ocean Strategy. And it's also mentioned in the Blue Ocean Shift book. So the Blue Ocean Shift has all the case studies of companies that have used this type of thinking, that have used this series of tools, and have created their own Blue Ocean strategy, and have created their own market space, and have achieved differentiation and low cost, and have made the competition irrelevant, creating their own market space. So what I'm going to do today, I'm not just going to talk about the inspirational part about blue ocean. Everybody wants to create their own blue ocean. But the key question here is, how are you going to create your own blue oceans, right? That's what we want to know. That's why we are here. That's why we are entrepreneurs. That's why we want to move away and break away from red ocean to blue ocean space. So essentially, in the book, there are 5 steps towards creating blue ocean strategy or making a blue ocean shift. But for the sake of the presentation today, I have concised it to 3 key steps. And I'm going to share a case study to illustrate these 3 steps of a company called Citizen M, as I mentioned earlier, that have used these steps and have created their own blue oceans and have revolutionized the way hotel are perceived today. So here are the 3 steps. Step 1 is called understand, where you have to understand where you are, right? Where you are now. And there are 2 parts to this process, this step, understanding where you are right now. You have to mobilize your team, right? You have to create a team, because Blue Ocean strategy is not a top-down strategy. It's essentially a strategy that you co-create with your team. And bear in mind, your team doesn't have to be your staff. Your team can be your partners, can be your suppliers. You can come together and form a team. Then you have to understand your current existing industry. And there is a tool that I'll walk you through later on. It's called the strategy canvas. After you understand where you are right now, then you have a good sense of your starting point and the industry landscape. After that, you move on to step 2. Step 2 is what we define as imagine. Imagine is where you start to understand the pain points of your customers, or better still, the pain points of the industry. If you can understand the pain points of the industry, if you can solve the pain points of the industry, then I guarantee you, you'll be able to create your own blue oceans. The second part of imagine is you need to imagine who could potentially be your new customer base. You look for non-customers. Apart from your existing customers, you start to ask yourself, who are my non-customers? And you start to imagine where you could be, how you can increase your market, how you can increase your pool. And that's essentially how you move from understanding to imagine, right? And lastly, once you understand where you are and you imagine where you can be, finally, the last stage is create. This is where you start to create a new value curve. This is where you start to create a new strategic profile of your organization. And we use another tool called the 6 path, 6 ways to create new value for your business. And I'm going to walk you through these 6 ways because I think it's important for us to understand. Why I'm doing this is because I want you to succeed. You know, I want you to create your own blue oceans. And especially, I'm patriotic, I'm a Malaysian, so I want Malaysian blue ocean strategy to take off. And that's why I'm sharing this. And lastly, the last part of create is to create a new business model, right? Creating your new strategic move, a new blue ocean move. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to walk you through step by step of a business case, right, of Citizen M, where you look at how they understood the existing market and how they imagined where they could potentially be, and at the end of the day, how they created their own new business model that breaks away from the red ocean space and reconstructs and creates a blue ocean of their own market space, and they created a new demand while pursuing differentiation and lower costs at the same time. Okay? So let's start with step 1. All right, this is the case study, a walkthrough of a blue ocean case study in the hotel industry. Right, let's start with step 1, understand. So I would like to introduce you to the founders of Citizen M. His name is Ratan Chadha and Michael Levy. In 2008, now Ratan Chadha was a very, very successful businessman based in Holland, and he had a fashion business. And he sold his fashion business because there was a good buyer, like all entrepreneurs would do, right? Sell your business when there's a great buyer, make some money. And then he was exploring. You know, he was saying, what business can I go into? How, you know, based on my understanding, based on my people, you know, I know the fashion industry, but what else can I do? I don't want to go into fashion industry anymore. I want to do something different. So while he was exploring, he went around the world, and together with Michael, he went around the world, and they even went to INSEAD, and they did a program, they did a Blue Ocean Strategy program, and something clicked. They said, hey, I want to create a very stylish kind of hotel, all right? And so they started to mobilize the entire team. They started talking to people, and they started understanding the industry landscape at that point of time in 2008, 2009. And so what they did was, they really drew this strategy canvas, and after this slide, but they realized that the entire industry was dominated by what we call star-rated hotels. So you have luxury hotels, and you have budget hotels, you have 3-star hotels, and so on and so forth. So what they did was they drew a strategy canvas, right? They drew a strategy canvas. Now, a strategy canvas is a tool that you use to understand your current play, your current strategic play, meaning that what are the key competing factors of your industry? It's very important for you to know what your industry, what are the rules of the game of your industry, what your industry is currently competing on. So when they did a strategy canvas, now there's even a free app that you can download to draw your own strategy canvas. You just download Blue Ocean Strategy, it's free, and you can start drawing your own strategy canvas. So when they drew the SE strategy canvas of the industry, they realized that these were the factors that the industry was competing on. Number 1 was price. Number 2 was front desk and concierge. They were bellhops and doormen, because it's all a full service coming in, checking in. Then there was full service restaurants. There was lobby, guest room types. The more guest room types you have, that's even better. And then you have room sizes, sleeping environment, location, movies on demand, and of course the internet. How can we live without the internet, right? And they started plotting, they started saying that, hey, why don't we plot against the 3-star and the luxury hotels? Because these are the two hotels that have a tendency of having a high occupancy rate. So they realized that for the luxury hotels, you can see that everything else is high. When you plot the price as it is, and then the rest of it are value proposition that you offer to your customer. So you can clearly see here the value proposition of a luxury hotel is everything is high except for maybe internet, which is true. Huh? How many of you here have been to a luxury hotel and you struggle with the internet, right? Especially in Singapore. No Singaporeans here, right? No? Okay, I love Singapore. All right, so, but I really struggle whenever I go to Singapore. You stay in a good hotel, but they always charge for internet, right? You have some, Sam has some issues with that. Huh? And 3-star hotel, everything else is, why do we go to a 3-star hotel? Because you pay a lower price, but you compromise on all the other value because, the room size is pretty decent and so on and so forth, right? So this is when you actually draw as a strategy canvas. So after that, you ask, how do you create a blue ocean in this hotel industry? What is the space that you're going to play here? But here you can clearly see there is a differentiator and there is a low-cost player, right? Is there still an opportunity to play? Is there still an opportunity to create a blue ocean? Hello? Hello? Yes? Okay, yes. Okay, good. You're still alive. All right. Now, moving from understanding, mobilizing your team, looking at strategy canvas, you start to imagine. Start to make that shift. What can I do? All right? Where can I go? Imagine where you could be. So, you want to understand what are the pain points of the industry, and there are a number of tools that you can apply to identify what are the pain points of the industry, and then you start to look for your non-customers. So what they did was, again, they applied this tool, and it's called the buyer experience cycle. Now, the buyer experience cycle has 2 axes. One is the x-axis where you define your customer journey. It's journey mapping. It's very similar to design thinking, where you put down the key stages of your customer. So in this case, when you put yourself in the customer's shoe, you can see that they usually would plan their trip, and they will go into TripAdvisor, Agoda, and so on, and they start to review, right? And then after that, they check in, they stay, they sleep, they dine, and they check out. So these are the key stages of a customer when he goes and interacts with an entire hotel, right? So this is the journey map. And then we have on the y-axis, these are the 6 utility levers in Blue Ocean Strategy that helps you to define the type of pain points that the customer actually goes through. For example, how does it affect their productivity, simplicity, convenience? How are they viewing risk reduction, and also fun and image and environmental friendliness? Now, if you are in any business, you can define your customer pain points or your industry pain points by using this tool, and all you have to do is change the x-axis. all you have to do is change the x-axis into what your customers will go through. Put yourself in your customer's shoe, and then define what are the stages that your customer go through. And for each stage, try to ask them, what are their pain points? So in the case of the hotel industry, you can see that when they plan and review, there's always buyer's review, right? And there's always a lot of the types of rooms. Oops. Are you okay? All right. So types of rooms, and there's price fluctuation. When you check in, it's very complicated, long, boring process. Stay, internet, limited internet, entertainment. Location of the hotel is not convenient. And then fun and image. This is quite interesting. Rigid staff. Have you ever been to a hotel where the staff say, okay, I'll call room service, You ask them, you call the front office, right? You call the front desk, and they'll say, oh, I'm sorry, I'll call the room service. And then they put you on hold, they pass you here and there. So every staff have their own job description, and they can't solve your problem because it's someone else's problem. So that's what we define here as rigid staff. It's a pain point of the industry. And then when you sleep, poor quality of bed, poor design of the hotel. When you dine, limited choices. All you have to do is eat in the buffet, which is so expensive. And then you have, a poor shower, and then when you check out, again, it's a long process, very paper-based. Why I'm showing you all this is because these are the pain points of the industry, which is also the pain points of the customer. Why do you need to know this is because when you identify the pain points specifically, and when you unlock these pain points, you are able to create your own blue oceans. Pain points are hints for you to be able to look at ways that you can create your own blue oceans. And because of these pain points, there's always underserved non-customers. Customers that have not been served properly, or customers that are refusing, customers that are unexplored. And for this case, when they looked at all of the pain points, they realized that there are a number of underserved travelers that have been moving around that they can actually capture. So for example, the non-customers here are budget travelers, smart budget travelers. They are looking for best bargain and looking for affordable luxury. And there are culture seekers. These days, there are a lot of culture seekers because of the ability to travel. There are many culture seekers who spend minimum time in the room, but they're always outdoors. And we have millennials. How many millennials here in the house? Yes, almost everyone, no? Okay, looking for social interaction, tech and mobile savvy. And lastly, backpackers looking for a longer stay. So these are all non-customers, and they are the ones who are facing pain points in the industry, because there's not been any solution or anyone who have actually solved their problem, or anyone who have provided a better offering for them. So, with all this in mind, they started exploring. Okay, they understood where the industry was. They imagined where they could be. They said, okay, we can solve these pain points. We can create a cool hotel, and we can actually capture all these non-customers. We are able to look at ways that we can capture them. So, step 1 is to understand. Step 2 is to imagine. And step 3 is finally to create. Are you following me so far? You okay? It's helping you? Yeah? So step 1, understand. Step 2, imagine. Step 3, create. How do we create? We already know where we are. We already understand the pain points of the customer. And we also understand the non-customers. Now, how do we recreate a new value curve? Now, there are 6 ways to create your new strategic move, your new value curve. Let me walk you through the 6-part framework. It's a little bit heavy, but if you can get it, if you can think about it, it's very, very interesting. Now, every industry have a problem. Every business or rather industry have their own issues, right? The pain points of the industry. Now, there are 6 ways to think out of the box. There are 6 ways to create, or what we call open up a value cost frontier, meaning that you're able to differentiate and reduce your costs at the same time. The first way, the first path is to look across alternative industry. You look across alternative industry, you look at another industry to solve the pain points of your industry. If you can look at another industry and you can find a solution, that you can borrow and bring it into your industry, then you're able to create a blue ocean. Because great ideas never come from your industry. Great ideas always comes from another industry. Think about it. Everybody who have created something great in the industry always have borrowed it from another industry, right? So if you keep on looking at within your industry, you're not going to be able to create your own blue ocean. Second is to look within strategic groups of your industry. Now, every industry, if you look at it, there's always people who differentiate, and there are always people who go for low-cost strategy, just like the airline. But if you can look across, if you can create an offering that can capture groups that trade up and groups that trade down, then you are able to capture your blue oceans. Number 3, looking across chain of buyers, redefining buyer groups. Sometimes the industry is so focused on users or purchasers, but we tend to forget the influences of the industry. If we can capture, redefine these buyer groups, then we are also able to create the blue oceans. I'll show you these examples, example of Citizen M, how do you capitalize the 6 paths shortly. But I just want to give you the framework. Path 4, looking across complementary products and services. Are you able to provide a total solution of what happens before, during, and after in your industry? 5, rethink functional and emotional orientation, which means some industries are very functional, some industries are very emotional. Is there a need to rethink and come up with something different? Lastly, path 6, participate in shaping the external trend, because every business, every industry has a trend. How can you shape and participate in shaping these trends across time? Now, what Citizen M, the team in Citizen M found out was that not all 6 paths will be applicable to you. So they looked at path 2, 5, and 6. So when they looked at path 2, looking across strategic groups, they found out that in the industry that they wanted to go into, which is the hotel industry, there were 2 groups, as I mentioned just now. They were the luxury hotels and they were the 3-star hotels. And they both have their plus points, meaning that people go to luxury hotels because of the sleeping experience, cleanliness, theme. Like if you go to Hyatt or Four Seasons, they have their own theme, and bathroom, location, and so on. People go to star-rated hotels because it's affordable and it's value for money. However, there are pain points of the industry. What are the pain points of luxury hotels? They are expensive and sometimes it's inconsistent. Because you pay so much of money, your expectation is very high. And when there is an underwhelming delivery of service, you get frustrated. And also, the pain points of the star-rated hotels are noise, lack of style and design, and location. What if we can create something in between? What if we can reconstruct? What if we can borrow certain elements of the luxury hotel and we can borrow certain elements of the budget hotels and we can reconstruct while we solve the pain points of the industry, while we go after all these non-customers? And then they started to rethink the functional and emotional appeal of the industry, which is path 5. Now, if you look at luxury hotels, they have their themes, but a lot of them lack style and design. So they capitalize on their experience of fashion. They said, hey, if we can create a hotel that is cool, stylish, and full of design, then we are able to create our own blue oceans. Next path. Path 6, shaping external trends over time. Everybody knows that people are traveling more because of budget airlines, and there are also smart travelers, like what we mentioned just now, all the non-customers. And they are all very technology savvy. And lastly, there's an increase of social citizens, people who are not confined by the citizenship of their country, but they are social citizens. They start to want to make friends with people from all around the world. And so based on all these trends, path 2, 5, and 6, and looking at the current industry, looking at the pain points, looking at non-customer, they said, okay, this is how we are going to create our new strategy moving forward.
Fellow citizens,
Take a look at this video.
This is a story about a new kind of hotel. Its name is Citizen M. It's also a story about you and people like you. Our evolving planet, connected by technology and smarter transportation, has created a new generation of traveler. These individuals are explorers, culture seekers, shoppers, and professionals. They travel a lot, but travel wisely. You might be one of them. If so, congratulations. You're a mobile citizen of the world, and you're so important to us, we named our hotel after you. Mobile citizens share a common desire when they arrive in a new part of the world: to find a place where budget meets luxury. Not coincidentally, that's also the founding philosophy of Citizen M. Citizen M is a modern hotel built for smart, forward-thinking people. Yes, we thought that might include you. It features the latest technology. It's designed in a new way. It thinks in a new way. The Citizen M room. It has a wall-to-wall window, Vitra furniture, LCD flat screen, power rain shower, free movies on demand, free Wi-Fi, a bed as big as your dreams, though not as weird as your dreams. You can change your room lighting to any color you want, except tartan. Citizen M also has self-check-in, living rooms to work, rest, or meet, 24-hour food and beverages. Citizen M does not have. Citizen M also has a few surprises. Everything you might expect from a luxury hotel, but with a twist. Because you, the people, want low-price luxury. Because you, the people, want a contemporary hotel. Citizen M exists. So to every mobile citizen of the world, Citizen M welcomes you all.
All right. How did they reduce their costs and increase their value? This is the question you need to ask yourself in your business. Are there any factors that you can eliminate? Factors that have been taken for granted in the industry, that when you eliminate, nobody really cares. Even your customers are not going to be affected. Can you reduce factors that have been over-offered? Factors that for some reason, because of competition, everybody is focusing on this factor, but it doesn't really make any difference for your customers. Or can you raise and create factors, raise factors that have been under-offered, that the customer, non-customer really wants, that needs to solve the industry pain points? Can you create new factors that's never been offered? So, if you translate that into Citizen M's new strategic profile on how they created their strategy, you're able to see this ERRC grid. You're able to see that they eliminated the front desk and concierge service, bellhops, doorman, full-service restaurant, room service, lobby. And they reduced guest room types, room size, price of vis-a-vis luxury hotel, cost of building. They built modular buildings. So the cost of building the hotel is significantly reduced. And what did they raise? The sleeping environment. They gave extra large bed, luxurious linens, quietness, soundproofing, shower power, prime location, free movies on demand, voice calls at voice over IP, free high-speed internet speed, lots of plugs. We love that, don't we, for gadgets? And they created kiosks for 1 to 3 minutes self-check-in and communal living. This is what I really, really love. 24/7 bar and pantry, self-service bar and pantry. You can go and eat whenever you want. Multitasking ambassadors, hired for warmth and can-do attitude. They are non-scripted staff, meaning that they can do anything for you. They are not going to pass you around. They can solve everything. And as a result of that, when you were to translate that ERRC into a to-be strategy canvas, you're able to see that the new to-be canvas is completely divergent, is completely different from that of the existing business. And you see that they have priced themselves a little higher, and they have reduced the cost significantly. They have increased the value, thus creating their own blue ocean strategy. They're able to create their own market space, they're able to create new demand, and they're able to do it with by increasing value and reducing costs at the same time. And so if you look at their strategic profile, it's completely different from those that of luxury hotels and also 3-star hotels. Are they successful? And yeah, every good strategy must have a good tagline. Their tagline is affordable luxury for people. So if you have a strategy, what's your strategy canvas? What's your value proposition? And what's your tagline? Affordable luxury for people. This is the one in New York, in Times Square. Looks very, very beautiful. And every hotel, they have 12 hotels right now, and every hotels have different type of lobbies or what they call communal living. It's not a lobby actually, it's more of a place to just hang out and meet someone new. Room size is not very big, but it's very, very cool and nice. And the lights can change, especially when you're in the toilet, right? If you want different moods, right? Whatever works for you. And 24/7 self-service bar and canteen. You can go and just grab a juice, grab a sandwich, grab some sushi, and just hang around at the living room, at the communal living space. Are they successful? Yep, very, very successful. Operates over 12 major cities, over 90% occupancy. In an industry that has about average of 60%, they have 90% occupancy. They have the highest guest rating in the industry, and they have the lowest cost per room, which is 40% lower than the average 4-star hotel. Their cost of staff is 50% lower than industry average. Highest profitability per square meter in the industry around the world. So they are changing the entire rule of the game. So in an industry that is is such a red ocean, they can still create a blue ocean because they address the pain points of the industry and they're able to capture non-customers. And the best part, they're able to be sustainable because they increase value and they reduce the cost at the same time. And that's the essence of what blue ocean strategy is about. So what I'm going to leave you with is a thought that I've given you the steps, but I just want to encourage you that blue ocean strategy is really about seeing what everybody else has seen, but thinking what nobody else have thought. And that's done through a systematic process. Strategic planning, strategy formulation is a systematic process. It's not just about coming together and let's brainstorm, but if you walk through a systematic process to understand, to imagine, and to create, then you're already one step closer towards creating your own blue oceans. So with that, I think I'll end here. I just want to thank you for listening, and I hope that my aspiration is really to give you some how-tos, instead of just telling you what blue ocean is all about, giving you a bit of how-tos on how you can create your own blue ocean strategy. So my email is here, and our company web address is here. If you want some parts of the slides that I can share, I would love to share with you. You can just drop me a note, and you can follow us on Twitter, and you can look me up on Twitter as well, Kumar77, and I'll be more than happy to collaborate with you guys. Magic is a great strategic partner to us. We help them out in many of, we work with them, we collaborate with them in many of the programs, especially on strategy and innovation. So with that, thank you very much for listening. You guys have been a great crowd. And I think I have a bit of time, and I would love to take some questions. If not, you guys have been great. Thank you.
All right, we're opening the floor for Q&A. Wah, tingginya.
Thank you. So, sir, you were discussing about blue ocean. So blue ocean is about creating a new market, creating a new demand.
Yep.
And the case study that you showcase for us is about people who are starting something with a new strategy. So what about those who already have been involved in a business and you want to make a shift to the blue ocean strategy? How to make the shift with no effect to their business?
Right.
How to create new demand while they already have a demand, but still the competition is too high?
Yeah. So I would really recommend for you to really, even if you're already a business that is currently in existence, although this is a new business, but it is the same principle that you will use for your existing business. You will go back to the drawing board and you go back to the process of looking at, just let me get back the process slide here. Oops, yeah. You will basically do the same process all over again. Because the key competing factor of any industry, of any business will change at a particular point of time. So I would encourage you to start to mobilize your team and to draw your SE strategy canvas and to understand your current industry profile. Because many a time when we work with organizations, when we work with big, small, medium organizations in over 20 over countries, we find that many of them do not know where exactly they are, and they don't really know what are the competing factors of the industry. They don't really are also not sure what a customer or the decision points that the customer will look at in making a key decision of taking your product versus your competitor's product. So start with understanding your industry profile. Then you can ask, what are my current customers' pain points? Why are they going through this? What are the industry pain points? And ask yourself, who are our non-customers? You know, we have a customer base, great. But who are our non-customers? Why are they non-customers? Why are they not coming to us? What are the barriers? What am I going to do to remove these barriers? What am I going to do to remove these pain points? And then you start to reconfigure your business and start to recreate a new value proposition. So it's the same principle that applies for whether it's a big conglomerate, whether it's a small or medium company, or whether it's a startup. It's the same principle because this is a proven methodology that is applied for small, medium, or big company. Thank you. Yes, you have two questions here.
It's for the people listening from the live.
It's a good
Okay,
exercise for you.
good evening, sir. So I have a question. Let's say I have reached at this step 3. I'm start creating.
Yeah.
I have already looked for a non-customer. By the time I start to create, I found that another competitors having the same idea as I have. So what should I do? Should I start back from the step 1 or I just continue?
No, you keep going. You create as fast as you can, execute as fast as you can, and you can also look at the 6 ways to find a better value proposition. So you start to improve on it. But it's fine. You know, sometimes when you create something, there will be somebody else. You know, it's a matter of first to market. So I would say go for it, but pivot along the way and look at the 6-path framework. Look at alternative industries. How can you improve your current value proposition? Improve on it further, and look at what are your other competitors doing. You know, but look at ways. If you really want to think blue ocean, why not you go to him and say, why don't we collaborate? Let's think of something. Let's create a bigger. Let's take a bigger bite out of this. Let's collaborate. Since you have some strength, I have some strength, why don't we come together and let's create a bigger uncontested market space? That's also another way to look at it. Yeah? Yep.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Eric.
Hi, Eric.
Okay. Just now you mentioned about the hotels.
Yep.
I want asking you questions. For your opinions, recently our governments want to implement the hotel tax amongst the foreigner. So is it for you? Is it on the coming years will direct impact of the rental and the sales of the hotel? Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So there's a few perspectives to this question, and I'm going to answer it from 2 different perspectives. From the customer's perspective, I think if you talk about international customers, I don't really think that that is a real big issue because the hotel rates in Malaysia generally are very, very cheap. It's considered one of the cheapest in the world. You could literally stay in a real 5-star or 5-star hotel and pay about, about 100, 150 US dollars, which actually is considered very, very cheap if you talk about global rates. Huh? So I don't know whether that is really an issue. But on the other perspective, I know that the government is also trying to increase. Is it being recorded? No, okay. So the government is also trying to increase the revenue stream, of the country and increasing the tax base, right? From another perspective, I think local travel tourists, we don't have to pay tax. I think that was a backtrack. It's good that citizen stakeholders, they voice their concern, because I think we're already paying quite a number of tax, so we shouldn't be paying local tourist tax. So I think that is already clear. So for me, I don't see it as a major issue, but I think it's also about implementation. And in Blue Ocean strategy, we have this thing called fair process. Fair process is really about the way you execute is as equal, as important as the way you formulate your strategy. So why a lot of strategies fail? Because there's no fair process. There's no process of engaging. There's no process of communicating. There's no process of explaining clearly what is the outcome, what is expected of the other person. And because of that, a lot of strategies fail because people don't buy into it. So when you co-create a process like this, that's why mobilizing your team is all about fair process. Hey guys, let's come together and let's create our strategy of your company. And that's where you reduce the execution hurdle that typically you would face. Okay? Yes?
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
So let's say after you have implemented this Blue Ocean strategy, and then you, how do you maintain the competitive advantage? Because usually Blue Ocean will also turn back to Red Ocean in the end. So in the end, you're still going to compete on pricing because your competitors will sprout out. And then, how do you keep this Blue Ocean strategy to be sustainable in the long run?
All right. So that's a great question. Blue Ocean strategy is not a one-off. Remember, I talked about great companies. They did something right at a particular time and space. So when you create your Blue Ocean, you have about 3 to 5 years for you to enjoy your Blue Ocean space, right? But eventually someone will say, hey, this is a great opportunity. Why don't we all jump in? That's when the Blue Ocean becomes red. You start, we have more competition. So it's a dynamic process. That's why this is a systematic process, it's a dynamic process. Then you have to go back and redraw your strategic canvas again. You have to ask yourself, hey, what are our competitors right now? The moment you feel that you are starting to compete on price, that is when you have to go back to the drawing board. The moment you feel that you are still in touch with your customers and non-customers, and you're still leading, and you have your ear on the ground, you know what's happening in the market, that's fine. But the moment you feel that, hey, let's start to drop our price and so on and so forth, that's when you know your ocean is becoming red. You have to go back to the drawing board in that process. Yeah?
All right, we have time for one last question.
One last question. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Raj, for an awesome presentation.
Thank you.
How do you apply the Blue Ocean strategy in a declining industry? For example, the tobacco industry.
Okay, I don't smoke, by the way, so anyway. Okay, so, well, again, like I mentioned, this when you talk about this framework, it applies to all industries, even a declining industry. If you look at the book Blue Ocean Shift, it talks about many cases where the industry is declining. For example, one of the cases is a French fry maker, and the industry was declining year on year, was about 20 to 30%. And what they did was, they started understanding, again, the pain points of the industry, the pain points of the customer, and they started redefining the market. And what they did was, there was a strong trend that was shaping this industry, which is actually the health industry. And what they did was, they started making French fry makers that uses only 1 teaspoon of oil. And the rest is history. And they started to grow the industry by 40%. So that's how they created a Blue Ocean, by shaping the trend of the industry. And take, for example, Nintendo Wii. Nintendo was actually shrinking, right? Their business model or their revenue was shrinking. And their industry was also shrinking in that sense, in terms of profit. But what they did was, they made a shift. They looked at the non-customers. They created the Wii. And they went after not just the kids, they went after adults and the elderly. And they created a new market space, and they came out with the Wii, and everybody started playing the Wii. And they grew the industry, I think, was about 60% year on year in the next 3 years to come, from 2005, 2006 to 2010. So industries can shrink and industries can be redefined and industries can grow. Same principle applies. If you're in the tobacco industry, you can always go back and start to apply these tools and frameworks as well. And for me, the way I see it as, I don't know, this vapor thing that is happening right now, it's kind of like, for me, it's a new product in the industry, right? And it's creating a new demand where people are making a shift from, smoking towards vaping. So I don't know whether that's equally as bad or good, but that's how we look at the industry. So go back. I would recommend you to look at the six-path framework, 6 ways to reconstruct. You can look at ways you can reconstruct your market. Look at the trends that are happening right now, and think of ways that you can create your own blue ocean. Yeah. All right. Wow, it's been an interesting evening. So back to you. Thank you very much, guys.
All right, thank you so much, Raj. And that was the end of the session from Raj. Right, guys, we are up for the next session. You have a 10 minutes break if you'd like to continue for the next session, which should start in about 5:35.